Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ghala Alamri, and I'm going to be the first one to present our research paper called Altruistic. I've worked on this paper with my colleague, Taraf Alshalan, and our supervisor, Maali Alabullhafith. We will be representing Princess Norah bint Abdurrahman University today, which is the biggest women college in the world. So we're very honored and excited to share our work with everyone. The topics we'll be covering today is an introduction to our paper, as well as the problem statement and the solution we came up with. We're going to be going through the game design, as well as the usability testing and the findings we came up with, as well as the conclusion. And last thing is the accomplishments that we got through this paper. If I could just get a minute. Sorry about that. Moving forward, to get a brief idea about our research paper, we're going to have to define ASD, which stands for Autism Spectrum Disorder. It's a neurological condition that affects 1 in 45 children in Saudi Arabia. And to understand a little bit more, we need to differentiate between a neurotypical and a neurodivergent person. A neurotypical person, it's basically an individual who thinks, perceives, and behaves in a way that is considered normal by society, while on the other hand, a neurodivergent person is a person whose brain processes things differently, and that affects how they behave and makes them have different strengths and challenges. While doing this research, we wanted to see if there's enough work about the neurotypical and the neurodivergent interactions, and if they're documented well in our region. And we found that there is a lack of studies when it comes to that, and most of the papers that we did find were ones either targeted towards parents with autistic children, or it's a medical paper that shows us how kids with autism behave differently compared to other kids. And we also tried to show and tried to search for the methods that are being used in our region to raise awareness about this disorder. And we found the typical methods, which is campaigns and educational videos, as well as educational papers. And after that, we were interested to see if technology was ever used to help people on the spectrum. And we did find some ways that technology was used, whether to diagnose the disorders or to help kids socialize and communicate with other children and their family members. So by doing this research, we wanted to focus on providing an educational experience targeting or directed towards individuals who have no knowledge or experience about communicating with people on the spectrum, and truly see what it feels like to be an autistic person or experience the struggles that they go through on a daily basis. To come up with the solution for this problem that we noticed in our community, we tried to employ virtual reality technology to educate neurotypicals in a fun and interacting way. Hopefully that will lead to the support of people on the spectrum. To understand a little bit more about the game or the game design, so the game has a bunch of different scenarios, and all of these scenarios were based on real life events and were taken by a specialist to make this video game more authentic and realistic. So the game is an open level, so the player gets to be placed in a situation and gets to interact with the person on the spectrum. And they're faced with two options, whether it's the correct option, and that helps the player move on into the next scenario, which is a little bit more complex. But if, on the other hand, the player gets or chooses the wrong choice, they will see the situation that they were in from the autistic person's point of view. To understand a little bit more how this game works, we're going to be viewing a little clip of the game. So this is how the game starts.
The player.
So the first thing the player will see is the scenario will be placed right in front of them. So this scenario is basically the player is participating in a class activity and will be paired with a student on the spectrum, and they're both required to do a certain activity. But the person on the spectrum is refusing to partake in it.
Is participating in a class activity and is paired with a student on the spectrum. Both are required to do an in-class activity. The autistic student.
Okay, kids, pair up for your assignment.
As we can see, this is the classroom the player will be in. And as soon as they approach the person on the spectrum, they will be, they will have to choose between two choices, either to ask to join by pointing to the computer, or the other choice is shouting their name. And we'll see how each choice has different consequences, basically. So choosing the correct answer by pointing to the thing that they're required to do will help the person on the spectrum understand and have the will to join. But if the person chooses to shout their name, that will either lead to person to ignore them or overreact to loud noises. So this is the point of view of the person on the spectrum, and how can shouting their name can trigger them.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Moving forward for the usability testing or the testing phase, my colleague Taraf Alshalan will be taking over to explain the rest of the presentation.
Hello, everyone. My name is Taraf Alshalan, and I'm going to be talking about the usability testing. So for the usability testing, we tested on 5 people. 2 of them were specialists, and 3 with no experience or have ever interacted with a person on the spectrum. And the testing was in 4 phases. So as you saw, the whole game, we introduced the game, And then we asked them to perform the tasks, like choosing the choices or going to the person who's on the spectrum. And then we saw how long it took them to perform that task. And then after they saw the scenarios and everything, we had post-task questionnaires. We used the technology acceptance model for those questions, and they rated their experience out of 5. After that, we had semi-structured interviews, so we got their feedback. It was open-ended, so we tried to have as much feedback as possible, especially from specialists, because it helped us understand how to improve the game more. So for the findings, we had, as you can see, 3 findings. The biggest one was the efficiency. So we measured the efficiency based on time that it took each player and the time to complete the scenario. So the first one, because it was the easier one to introduce the whole game, less time. And then for the second one, it was more complex, and each scenario took more time because of that complexity. And then we measured everything and their feedback based on the technology acceptance model. And we saw that the game was highly efficient for the purpose that it was intended. It was an educational one. And specialists, because they have experience, it took them less time to finish the game compared to people with no experience. For the usefulness, it was based on the feedback we got from the participants. Even though they had no experience, they said it was easy and it was engaging because it was a virtual reality. They felt like they were actually interacting with the person. And then the game was important for them because we're trying to improve the life quality and have people interact with neurodivergence and have neurodivergent in our society, and we just have more of an interactive society. For the learnability, the participants agreed that the whole game or tasks, it was clear, the whole instructions were clear, and each scenario, it was easy because it was a virtual reality game, and it was more interactive for them to see the point of view of the person on the spectrum. For the unexperienced participants, they said that the second one, the complexity started to increase, so they found it a bit harder to complete the whole task. For the second one, we adjusted the second one based on the specialist's feedback. So we went back to the second scenario and we made it a little bit less complex for people with no experience to understand autism a bit more. So for the conclusion, based on the whole feedback, whether it was the specialists or people with no experience, we saw both feedback. It was great. It was very positive, and it was very unique the way the game took them and our approach. And all of the participants said that this game will have a significant impact in our society. For the future of the game or future work for this research, we want to publish the game in the future. And we're just trying to complete everything, complete the whole programming. Since it's a new technology, there's not a lot of games, even here in Saudi, virtual reality programmers. So we had to program everything ourselves, and we had to learn everything and publish everything on our own. But we found great support. As you can see, the accomplishments, we found great support from everyone. Each single person that we showed this project to has helped us. We won first place in BA system competition, second place in the innovation bootcamp, 9th place for the DEL competition. It was Middle East, across Middle East. And then the biggest achievement that we had was showcasing the research paper and the game for the Minister of Education, as you can see on the top right. And it was one of the most innovative ideas here in Code Lab in the Princess Noor University Innovation Center. So lastly, I would like to thank everyone for listening. I hope you enjoyed everything. And if you have any question, me and my colleague here are gonna answer them. So any questions to answer?